Good evening, everybody. Welcome. It being 7:30 on Tuesday, June 21st, 2022, we will begin our town council meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Of a moment of silence for all those who serve in our military, at home and abroad, and for their families. Thank you. Clerk Semino, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Certainly. Councilor Barrica?
Here.
Councilor Flaherty?
Here.
Councilor Hume?
Here.
Councilor Mackin? Presently not here. Councilor Maglio?
Here.
Councilor O'Brien is attending remotely this evening. Councilor Reynolds?
Here.
Councilor Ringus?
Here.
Councilor Ryan?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Clerk Semino. We have a council member who is participating remotely this evening, so all votes will be by roll call tonight. And as we start off our agenda, I think I speak for all of my fellow councilors who would agree that one of the best parts of this job is recognizing the achievements of our residents. And we're lucky enough tonight to have two recognitions this evening. So we are going to start off with our student artists, and then we are going to move on to our student athletes. So I want to thank Art Director Julie Camposano and her staff who helped make this possible. And I know we have Superintendent Lee with us this evening, as well as school committee members Lisa Heeger and Kelly Cobb-Lemire. So thank you for being here. I think when I said at the beginning of this art endeavor for the council, the arts enrich our lives, and having the students work in our chambers has truly inspired our community. I've heard so many compliments for all those who have been able to look at the beautiful artwork we've had in our chambers over the course of the last 4 months. So thank you to the students who loaned us your beautiful work over the last 4 months. I'm absolutely delighted we are going to continue this partnership in the fall when school gets back in session. So before we move on to handing out the recognitions, do any of my fellow counselors have any comments or questions? Right. I do have one thing that was handed to me this evening. I would like to read from one of our students, Dylan Lamphere, who had a few important things to say about art in school. School is not easy because a lot of teachers play tapes and videos, which give me headaches because of my hearing issues. I leave the classroom a lot, and I am allowed to draw during this time. The art class is one class where I feel supported and encouraged to express myself through art. I am glad that Ms. Schultz shared some of my art with you. So, Dylan, thank you so much for those words. I think you reflect a lot of what everybody else is feeling. So, thank you. I think he deserves a round of applause. All right, so what I'm going to do is we're going to announce our student artists. You can come up and get your recognition, and then we'll do a photo over by the stage. So when you get your certificate, you can head over to the stage, and then excited to have the council join you. So we'll start with Yan Liu. Here. Might have some people who did not make it this evening. Caroline Kwan? Okay. Oh, perfect. We're going to move. Michelle Yang? Michelle here? Okay. Stanley Zhang. Thank you for coordinating this. Thank you, Stanley. You guys can go over to the stage. Minhyu Lee. Let me get these out. Prudencia Risk Uspensky. Prudencia here. Iris Shee. Okay. Good thing. Jack Joyce. Jack Joyce here. All right. Delaney Smith. No, Delaney. Oh. Aoife Mulcairn. Oh, good. Thank you, Joe.
Sorry.
Here you go. Who? Say your name again. No.
I'll get it. Sorry.
You say your name?
You call it an
Gonna find her. Yes, your recognition. T. Nguyen. Okay. Rebecca Ward Malloy. Oh my gosh, where's everyone? Elise Kidd. There's Elise. Thank you, Elise. All right. Jack Killen.
Good job,
All right.
Jack.
Thanks, Jack.
Thank you, Jack.
Dylan Lamphere. Dylan.
So they put it down.
Thank you.
Good job, Dylan.
Sarah Wu. Samia Ali. Esther Vu. All right. And Alana Barry. Okay. All right. Good photo. Yeah. Yes, we're going to now take a photo. All right, thank you, everyone. All right, next I'm going to turn the microphone over to Councilor Ringa.
Thank you, Madam President and other councilors. I love these meetings because I get to wear two hats, that of a councilor and also that of a coach. So tonight we are going to recognize some kids not only for their artistic achievements, but a group of 9 girls for their athletic achievements. For those of you who have been on the council or followed any of these meetings before, you have a group of 9 7th graders before you. As 4th graders, this team won the state championship. As 5th graders, this team went undefeated in the South Shore League. Unfortunately, they didn't get to compete in the state championships because a thing named COVID came to town and ruined off the chances of a state championship that year. In 6th grade, they came back, they went undefeated with a lot of different COVID regulations in place, wearing masks and having to play back-to-back games. They made the state championship again after an undefeated regular season, but unfortunately came up a little bit short in the state championship game. So this year, I think they all played with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. They all played with wanting to get back to that top spot. They finished first place, undefeated in the South Shore League, and they went on to win the state championship once again. So this is the second time these group of girls is being recognized for bringing a state championship back to Braintree. I know myself, I'm very proud of the effort they put in, their achievements in doing this. So what I'm going to do first is actually call up the two other coaches that coached with me, and that is Coach Jeff Burrell and Coach Bill Claher. In concluding my remarks for now, I just want to say I'm very proud of the girls for the effort they put in. I'm thankful to the parents who make sure they get to practices and games and put up with me and Jeff and Bill. And I will turn it over to Jeff and Bill to make a couple of comments.
I'll keep it really quick, but thank you very much for having us. The girls work very hard. Coming tonight is something that we expect to do at the beginning of the season. We set our expectations really high, and we're here. And we're hoping to be here again next year to finish off what would have been a really good group of girls right through 8th grade. But one thing we don't probably do often enough is we cannot do this without their parents. That we set practice times, we tell them where we need them to go, we bring them to tournaments that we didn't plan on, we do a lot of things that they didn't expect, and they never say a word about it other than, sure, where do we got to be? So I just want to say thank you to the parents as well. So thank you.
So to touch on what Dave and Jeff have already said, thank you for having us tonight. Not only are they great athletes, they're phenomenal human beings. These are 9 of the best kids you'll find. They look out for each other, they stand up for each other, and they're tough as nails. They are a lot of fun to watch, and for the most part, the 3 of us just get to sit back and enjoy the game because they basically coach themselves at this point. That's how good they are. Again, what Jeff said, thank you to the parents. We couldn't do it without you guys, and also, ladies, thank you for just making this very easy on the 3 of us. Thank you.
So briefly, just so the girls know what, and everyone sitting in the audience or at home, each of the girls is being recognized by the Braintree Town Council as the 7th grade girls travel basketball A-team Massachusetts State Championship. The certificates do go on to say congratulations on your hard work and dedication, and are signed by all 9 members of the Braintree Town Council. These girls will also have a spot in the parade this coming Saturday, so if you're sitting along the parade route, you will see them walking, marching, and hopefully throwing some candy out to you. If the councils wanted to come up, I will call up each of the girls. So they're going to line up. You guys can just walk through, shake their hands. So our first recognition is for Abigail Burrell. Our second recognition is for Peyton Claher. Avery Diuti. Eva Downing. Mia Francis. Izzy Rotundo. Kate Sweeney. Meredith Jones. We have a ninth member, Ginger Frayne, who couldn't be with us tonight. She's off in Disney, but I'm sure she's having a great time. And also recognitions to Coach Bill Clauher and Coach Jeff Burrell.
And one more recognition for Coach Ringus.
Hello. Go ahead, Councilor Ryan.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to congratulate the girls' basketball team. I have been in Braintree now for 26 years, and when I moved to Braintree, I was told that Braintree is a baseball town, and Braintree has great baseball teams. But what no one ever told me, but I came to learn by just living here, is that Braintree is a girls' basketball town too, and we have such a rich tradition of fine basketball players, and I'm so proud to see these girls here tonight and to hear how they've played as a team, going back and reviewing how they've done over the years. It's just something, another thing that makes the town of Braintree great, where you can have fine young ladies working together to achieve something great. And that's what these girls have done. So I'm very proud of them, and I wish you all the success in the future. Thank you so much.
Go right ahead, Councilor Reynolds.
Council Ryan has said, I mean, building teams is not an easy thing, so I think there's a great amount of admiration I'd like to give or recognize in the coaches and the selflessness that they put forward to help mold you guys as a team and teach you things that you're going to carry through the rest of your lives. And your parents, without them, none of this happens. So thank you to all the folks, of the parents of these very talented young ladies. And certainly, I'm sure we're going to hear a lot about you guys in the next few years. Keep it going. Wait it.
Councilor Hume.
Thank you, Madam President. Congratulations to all you young ladies and to the coaches and to the parents as well. The coaches don't get paid. The coaches give up so much of their free time, just like the parents do driving, but coaches give up, I think, more of their time. I know they give up more of their time. My daughter was in your shoes a few years ago, played for Braintree High, the state champs, and I think many of you attended many of those games. Now the younger players look up to all of you because they want to be and achieve what all of you have achieved. So congratulations on the huge accomplishment. Keep up the great work with your sports and also schools. And I know we will see you in the future because we've seen you a few years in a row. You got a great coaching staff and great parents, so congratulations. Best of luck to all of you.
Counselor Fleury?
What I'll add is that when kids are doing something that they love, it really shows. You can see it in all the artwork that's up, that has been up in this room all year long, and you can also see it in the hard work and the absolute magic that happens on the court when the girls go out there and play. It happens because grown-ups put forward some kind of opportunity, some kind of encouragement, and, a little bit of instruction, some nudging along. And it's so wonderful to see it when it happens. And I'm so proud of all the students who here today who have, followed whatever it was that made them feel great. And you can see the wonderful results of those efforts tonight. And I think that that is something that all of you will remember all of your life. And I'm grateful to you for sharing it with Braintree.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here with us tonight. You're welcome to stay if you would like. And you're also welcome to get on with your evening if you would like. So we will move along with council business. And I do want to remind everyone that Braintree Day is Saturday. I hope you'll join us. The parade begins at 11:45, followed by festivities at the high school. So hope to see everybody there. And we will pause while people leave. It's the good stuff. Charlie, did you give the certificates to the artists and Jim? To Sue? Okay. All right, we will move on to approval of, I'm sorry, Councilor Ryan.
Thank you.
Announcements, forgive me.
That's okay. I just wanted to say that 3 young men in Braintree will be getting their Eagle Scouts, and it's going to be on July 23rd at 1 p.m. at St. Clair's Church, and that is Kevin McGurn, Ryan McGurn, and Ryan Chiari have achieved and earned the honor of Eagle Scouts, and they'll be getting that at, like I said, at 1 o'clock the 23rd, which is this Thursday at St. Clair's Church. And July 23rd. You're right. Sorry about that. Thank you. It's not this Thursday. It's July 23rd. And I just want to say we've had some of the folks. I'd like to invite these folks to come in for one of our council meetings to get recognition, because it's such a tremendous honor to achieve Eagle Scout status. Mr. Ringus, are you an Eagle Scout? Excellent, excellent. And we've had many young residents of Braintree come before us when they achieve this honor, and just to hear about how they got their Eagle Scout and how the projects they did to achieve that, it's wonderful. So I just wanted to acknowledge those young men and say congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Ryan. Any other announcements from the councilors this evening? Councilor Flaherty.
I'll just remind people that the next Master Plan Steering Committee will meet here in Cahill Auditorium on this Thursday at 7 o'clock, and the consultants will review with us the draft of the existing conditions report. And residents are encouraged to attend, where they'll have an opportunity to ask questions about it. And there's a link on the Master Plan web page that's part of our town website where you can download the document if you wish to review it in advance. It's lengthy, so if you're really interested in it, get a glass of wine or something and read it.
Councilor Ryan.
Thank you. So I have one more. I just want to congratulate the Braintree pickleball players. They had the grand opening of the courts today. I hope I get that date right. And it was today at 10 a.m. and the new pickleball courts are right behind the Doherty gym. and I want to congratulate them and for, you know, they wanted to get the courts, they worked with the town, they worked with the Community Preservation Committee. It's something that we made happen, and again, one of the great things about the town of Braintree is the quality of our recreational facilities, and this is just going to really add to that, and I am looking forward to going and playing pickleball. I'm going to maybe take a day off from playing golf, and I'm going to go try to play pickleball. So I just want to congratulate those folks, too. Thank you.
Right. Councilor Ringus.
Thank you, Madam President. Just a quick announcement that tomorrow night at 6 o'clock here in Cahill Auditorium, the Committee of Ordinance and Rules is having public commentary on some proposed changes to zoning regarding cannabis cultivation and in the town of Braintree, which obviously is marijuana. There's been a lot of talk back and forth. I know a lot of people are debating this issue, and so we would love, I know all four members of O&R, and I'm sure the council at large, would love to hear the public's input on this proposal. So 6 o'clock tomorrow, it will be a public commentary period, so folks that come in, there will be a sign-in sheet and the ability to sort of make your opinions known on this proposal. Additionally, for folks that want to watch from home, there will be opportunities to text in to the clerk and have those comments read into the record. So we do hope that a lot of people will take advantage of that and make their opinions known on this very important issue that we're considering.
Thank you, Councilor Ringus. Any other announcements? All right. Moving on to approval of minutes. There are no minutes to approve this evening. And I think we can, in that case, move on to our first order of business, which is 03722. We have Superintendent Lee here. Thank you so much for joining us, as well as School Committee Chairwoman Lisa Heeger, to provide us with an update on the debt exclusion funding. So this is, we're about almost 2 years after our town-wide support for 4 important initiatives throughout the school district. The BHS feasibility study, the school roofs, the school security, and of course, New South Middle School. So thank you for being with us tonight, Mr. Lee. Looking forward to hearing the status of the projects and where we are with the financing and the money.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you all for having me this evening. Tough act to follow with a bunch of kids accomplishing great things. But just to give you a few updates in terms of where we stand on the debt exclusion monies. Let's start with the feasibility study, almost as a reminder. The feasibility study is for Braintree High School. As you know, we, in multiple years, have submitted a statement of interest to the MSBA in hopes of being invited into their process to partner with them to do whatever work is necessary at the high school. As you know, that process can lead in a multitude of directions. The feasibility study we would not do until we were invited in by the MSBA. Once a community is invited into the MSBA process, they require you to do a feasibility study, even if you've done one previously. They have their own criteria, they have their own elements that they want to see present in a feasibility study, so it would not be prudent to do a feasibility study until we are invited in. So at this point, we have not accessed that money, and we would not access that money until we were invited in. The option obviously would be for the town to go alone, which would not be prudent in my view, given the MSBA's generosity and the partnerships we've formed with them in the past. So that money is unspent and untouched at this point in time. The second part of the debt exclusion that I'll speak to relates to the roofs. As you know, $5 million was allocated to replace roofs in the elementary schools in the district. Presently, the two closest to the beginning of construction are at Liberty and Highlands. At this point, we have submitted our 60% design and development plans, and we expect construction to begin on those projects actually in June of 2023. It is an MSBA partnership, which means there are a lot of procedural steps that we have to go through to get to that place. There's obviously additional documentation that we'll be providing to them in the upcoming months, but the actual construction we anticipate will be next summer. Also, as part of the debt exclusion, Flaherty and Hollis are the next 2 schools in line for the roof projects. And at this point, we've executed owner's project manager contracts and designer contracts, and beginning the process of schematic design for those roof projects. So those would be further out, obviously, than Liberty and Highlands. So in terms of process for the roofs, that's where we stand at the present now. Security, $1 million was allocated to the debt exclusion for security. In addition to that $1 million, the school district and the town received a Department of Justice grant for approximately $600,000. Some of that is matching funds from the town, but about $470,000 of it comes from the grant itself. It's important in the sense that what we would spend that $1 million that the town voted on really became driven by what we can now spend through the grant to supplement that $1 million. And so we are in the process through the grant of acquiring communication systems in collaboration with the police department and the fire department. That grant will also help enhance communication capabilities in dead spots in town, as I'm sure you know that we have a few here in Braintree. And in terms of the remaining money of the $1 million that was voted on, $50,000 of that was spent on an audit of every single one of our facilities by a company called Green Harbor Techmark, which came back with a 600-page document with a host of recommendations in terms of how to improve security throughout the school district. Presently, there is a committee of 15 members, parents, school administrators, police, students, looking at those recommendations to help prioritize the list in terms of what would make the most sense and be the most efficient use of the funds as we move forward. So we anticipate some decisions coming forward relatively soon. We got the grant, the Department of Justice grant, in December, so some of the work was a little delayed because we thought we were going to get it, but we needed for them to officially tell us we were going to receive it. But now that that's in, the work can continue, and that committee will help guide that work as it goes forward. The last piece, and probably the biggest piece, as I'm sure you all know, was the allocation for the South Middle School. I believe it's to the tune of about $56 million. If you go over to Peach Street, you can see steel being erected, it seems like constantly at this point. They are under budget and on time. Bacon is our contractor. Hill is our owner's project manager. Both have been excellent to work with and continue to be excellent to work with. We had the beam raising on Friday afternoon, which was a lovely ceremony if you had a chance to get there. And we are still anticipating a July 2023 opening of the new South Middle School. So in terms of a quick update from a very high level, I'm happy to answer any questions, Madam President, but that's where we stand.
Thank you so much, Superintendent Lee. That is very informative and helpful. I'd love to turn it over to my colleagues if they have questions for the Superintendent. Councillor Hume.
Thank you, Madam President. I don't have any questions, but more comments. Thank you for being here, Superintendent Lee. I think is this your first official year before us as Superintendent?
It seems like it's been 10, but yes,
right.
this is one.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
You've been here for all these years, so it's good to have you in this capacity. I'm so glad you mentioned, and I hope Fred is picking up on this, that the MSBA requires us to do a statement of interest. You got one shot to do that statement of interest each year for one school. You have to be accepted, and then they require a feasibility study, because there's been a lot of parents asking why we're not doing anything, why we're not assessing the high school, why we're not working on it. There's 9 schools, 10? No, 10 schools in the school district, all of which were prioritized. The high school's on this list. So that is the process. It's not that it was being neglected, so I'm so glad you started with that. Those are 3 key points that we would be wasting money if we started this feasibility study, because the MSBA requires it, as you said. So I just wanted to restate that because that's so important. Myself, Councilor Ringus, served on the school committee. We had these conversations. They've been going on for years about the school buildings. I serve on the school building committee along with Chairwoman Lisa Heeger. And I don't think we would be here tonight talking about all of these without the work of Lisa Heeger and Jen Dolan for their vote yes on Braintree schools. So thank you so much for that, Chairwoman Heeger, and to all the residents who voted for it, and for Mayor Kokoros' support on this as well. It's exciting news, all this work being done, and I thank you. Thanks for all the work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hume. Councillor Ringus.
Thank Madam President, thank you, Superintendent Lee, for being here. I think I'll go kind of backwards order, I think. I loved hearing that South Middle School is on time and under budget, because we don't get to hear those words a lot. So I think that's an important thing to recognize. Obviously, my daughter is South. She's going to miss the opening. She's not happy about that. She'll be going off to high school when you open, but every day when I'm dropping her off, I'm seeing the work that's being done there, and it is moving in a rapid manner. And so it's great that we're going to have that new school coming online to serve that so many students in our community. You touched on the school security piece. I'm very interested in seeing the work that committee does and getting some of those recommendations forward. Obviously, in the last few weeks, we've seen a tragedy unfold in Texas, and I think it's important that we look to and address any ways that we can bolster the security of our schools. So I appreciate your efforts there, and I won't belabor the point, but I would agree with everything that Councilor Hume said in terms of the feasibility study. I do know that a lot of folks from being at the fields or being on the basketball courts talk about why we're not doing anything with the feasibility money, and there is a process that has to be followed. There are check marks that have to go in the correct boxes, and it would be a waste for us to do a feasibility study until we're accepted in. So I appreciate the explanation. Hopefully folks can take that in. I would note, too, we just recognized the 7th grade basketball girls. A lot of people don't know this. Superintendent Lee was an integral part of their opening win. They had a coach who accidentally left their new uniforms in South Middle School, and they got locked in. And that would have been me. And Superintendent Lee was, on a Saturday afternoon, was happy enough to drive up and unlock South Middle School so that coach could go in and retrieve the uniform.
It's now on the top of my resume.
That's 100%. That's on the recommendation. So I appreciate that. The girls appreciated that. Those girls are tough. Had I not shown up with their uniforms, it wouldn't have been a good night for me. So I do appreciate you coming out that way.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Councilor Ringus. Any other councilors? I would just want to mention on New South Middle School, there is a monthly school building committee meeting. I think it's the first Monday, or it's usually
Mondays.
Second Monday? Next week will be the next one.
Right.
Thank you, Chief of Staff Taub. So those, for residents and parents who are interested in the progress, those meetings are either held here or you can watch them on BCAM, but those are ongoing, and thank you to the team for their continuing work on this. So thank you again, Superintendent Lee, for those helpful updates. Thank you for being here, Chairwoman Heeger, and for all the work you both do for the town. So
my pleasure.
Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, moving on to our voting matters this evening. We're going to start with 22032, Mayor, acceptance of donations or take up any action relative thereto. I will refer to Councilor Reynolds, the Chairman of the Committee of Ways and Means, for their recommendation.
Thank you, Madam President. This evening, the Ways and Means Council voted unanimously for recommended approval for this gift.
Thank you very much, Chairman Reynolds. Does anyone from the Mayor's office wish to speak?
Good evening, Madam President, members of the Council. You know, when you said monthly, I thought you were going to give my favorite shameless plug for the monthly drone flyovers that the public can go to the website and check out. Most recently, flyover taken at the topping off ceremony, so that one's going to be really great when it gets posted in a couple of weeks. But thank you, Councilor Reynolds. We met earlier this evening. This is a donation that has come to us from a resident who wishes to remain anonymous. He works as a contractor with a company that does this type of recreational work and has done installations on courts all around Boston and the surrounding area. And he has generously asked to donate 2 new basketball hoops as well as to provide the installation for the same at the Highland School. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief of Staff Taub. Is there any member of the council who would like to speak on this? Okay. Councilor Ryan.
I just want to say to that person that wants to remain anonymous, thank you very much.
I will certainly pass that along.
I would also echo the sincere thanks for that. I do have a question for residents who are interested in making a donation to the town. What is the process for that?
So they can certainly contact the Mayor's office directly, and we can begin the process and the paperwork that's associated with accepting the donation.
Well, that's easy enough. Thank you.
Sure.
All right. All right, well, thank you again to our anonymous donor, and with that, we have a motion for Order 22032.
Yes, we have a motion that the town of Braintree be and hereby is authorized in accordance with Section 53A of Chapter 44 of the Massachusetts General Laws to accept the following gift upon the conditions attached and herein set forth. Donor, anonymous gift, basketball hoops and installation, purpose, Highland School. So moved.
Is there a second?
Second, sorry.
Thank you, Councilors Ryan and Hume. Clerk Semino, roll call vote, please.
Council Verica?
Yes.
Council Flaherty? Councilor Hume?
Aye.
Councilor Mackin is not in attendance. Councilor Maglio?
Aye.
Councilor O'Brien?
Aye.
Councilor Reynolds?
Aye.
Councilor Ringus?
Aye.
Councilor Ryan?
Aye.
8 in favor, 1 absent.
Thank you very much. That passes in favor. All right, moving on to our next order of business, which is 22034, Mayor, authorization to enter into Tri-Town Water District Joint Powers Agreement or take up any action relative thereto. This is a public hearing, so we will open the public hearing, and then we will take comments and we will vote after the opening of the public hearing. So is there a motion to open the public hearing for 22034?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Councilors Ryan and Hume. Clerk Semino, roll call vote, please.
Council Verica?
Yes.
Councilor Flaherty? Yes. Councilor Hume?
Aye.
Councilor Maglio?
Aye.
Councilor O'Brien?
Aye.
Councilor Reynolds?
Aye.
Councilor Ringus?
Aye.
Councilor Ryan?
Aye.
8 in favor, 1 absent.
Thank you, Clerk Semino. With that, I would like to refer to Councilor Reynolds, Chairman of the Committee of Ways and Means, for their recommendation.
Thank you, Madam President. This evening, the Committee on Ways and Means met earlier, and we did approve unanimously for this full recommendation be moved to the Council for discussion.
Thank you very much, Chairman Reynolds. Would anyone from the Mayor's office like to speak on this? Mayor Kokoris, welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members. So this is quite a historic moment, I think, for us here in Braintree, and I'm sure Councilor Ryan will agree with that. It was about 20 years ago, so we actually went to every town meeting at the time and got a non-binding resolution passed in order to support building a regional treatment plant. And we have been working through that for the last 20 years, and under the previous administration, we got to the point of actually having the legislation that I got to as a counselor and some of you folks here vote on and was put in voted into law in 2020. So I'd just like to start off by saying that it's historic because the original Tri-Town that was created so that we could share a water supply with Randolph and Holbrook goes back to 1800s, 1885, 1886. And this piece of legislation and this joint powers agreement is going to create an entirely new relationship. We will not just be sharing the unfinished water, but we will actually be working together, sharing a regional treatment plant. There's been a lot of work put into it over the years, and in the last couple of years, we've had a number of discussions in regards to this joint powers agreement. Initially, when I looked at the agreement, there was no compensation for some of the strains that would be put on our public safety, and I began by discussing some compensation for that in the form of pilot program. The other communities were not interested in the pilot program, but as we discussed it and moved through many conversations, and I must pause here and mention
Attorney Crystal Huff and as well as Helen Gordon for all their hard work through this process. So the Joint Powers Agreement, pretty much spells out how we will operate things financially. Legislatively, this regional treatment plant has already been it's already been determined as to what Braintree will pay on the capital side, and that's 50%, and the other two communities will pay the other 50%. We are going to receive state revolving fund funding, borrowing, I should say, and initially it was a very low interest rate, and based on some of the things that have happened with infrastructure bills, et cetera, we're looking at being able to borrow this money at 0%. In addition to that, there is another asset which will allow us to have approximately 6.5% of our debt forgiven. So there's a lot of benefits through this funding source. And as you know, a lot of things have changed in the last few months as far as interest rates and things of that nature. But the Joint Powers Agreement in itself just spells out how we are going to operate this regional treatment plant. So I'll just highlight a few things. Obviously, I talked about some sort of pilot program. As we negotiated through this, we ended up agreeing on the public safety aspects. Because of the size of this plant, we felt that we needed to have more fire protection. And because of security issues, we decided that we needed to have more police protection. So in this, there is a paragraph that speaks to us hiring 2 firefighters and 1 police officer, which would be in addition to the number of police officers and firefighters that we have today. And we were trying to, we negotiated what that cost would be. We settled on $225,000 for the 3 positions, which was based on an average starting salary for each. As far as increases, there's a 2.5% increase each year. That's part of this agreement for those positions. And the district, or the water, sewer enterprise fund would cover the benefits on those individuals. So as you look through, you will see that, this is a benefit to Braintree. I mean, yes, we are paying 50%, but we are, that is what we are legislatively responsible for. We had many, many hours of negotiations. Attorney Huff and the attorneys from the other 2 communities had many, many hours of discussion on this. This is an important document that has been vetted through from beginning to end. And as chairman of the Tri-Town Board, I feel completely confident that this agreement puts Braintree in a great position and allows us the opportunity to share in the cost of building a treatment plant, which is going to save us money. In addition to that, it allows us to produce water that will meet the standards of the DEP. And I'm sure Councilor Ryan knows that those standards are constantly changing. So the PFAS number that more recently came out, dropping from 70, which is the national 70 parts per trillion, to 20 parts per trillion, was a wise move on behalf of the DEP, and we have 0 PFAS right now in our water. So this plant will have no PFAS in the water as well, and we'll supply water to all 3 communities. So it's definitely a benefit to our neighbors as well. But more importantly, I just want you to know that we have gone through this agreement and we've looked at every possible scenario so that for the next 50 years we will have success, and
Braintree, you'll also see initially is going to operate the treatment plant, and we have, tremendous employees in the water department, and they're highly qualified. There is costs associated with some of the other administration and benefits, which will be charged to Tri-Town as well. So, in a nutshell, we have put together a wonderful document, and it was really a team effort, and I'm very thankful for the help of Attorney Huff and all of my staff members for getting us to this point. So with this vote tonight, which I ask you to vote favorably for, and I thank the Ways and Means Committee for supporting this, it will allow us to finalize with this ratification. It's already been ratified in Holbrook, and it's been ratified in Randolph. So this will allow us to go to bid on our new Tri-Town Regional Water Treatment Plant. And I thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I have my staff here, and I could be more than happy to answer the questions.
Thank you so much, Mayor Kokoros, and thank you to the team for being here tonight. I would happily open up to my colleagues. Councilor Ryan.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to congratulate Mayor Kokoros for this achievement. Back in the 1990s, I met Mayor Kokoros when we were both running for Water and Sewer Commission, and people used to say it was great entertainment watching the Water and Sewer Commission meetings because it was very spirited meetings. But the idea of a tri-town water treatment plant, I think, started when we started talking about it, Chuck, and about the benefits that such a facility would have. And Mayor Kokoros has been Braintree's representative on Tri-Town for many, many years, and I want to thank you for all the hard work and dedication you have done behind the scenes, the tackling and blocking of government, doing that type of work. And thank you so much, Chuck, for doing that. And on a night like tonight, when we're here taking this vote, I'm very proud of you and all the work that you've done, and I want to thank you so much. A water treatment plant that serves 3 communities is good government. It makes great sense. We have economies of scale, we have cost sharing, and it's something that we should see more in government. And I'm glad we're doing this. And it's going to be wonderful to have a new water treatment plant. We're so lucky in the town of Braintree. People turn on their faucet and they don't know where the water's coming from, but good potable water, you have to put a price on it, but it's something that's so valuable in our lives, and we're very lucky that we have such a good water supply that we can share with Randolph and Holbrook. And we're very lucky with our treatment plant. Has served us so well for so many years, and for our staff that do a great job with the water treatment plant. I really think Randolph and Holbrook is benefiting tremendously having a new water and treatment plant that we're going to operate and oversee. They're going to benefit tremendously from having our professionalism at the treatment plant. It's been a long time coming. Over 20 years. I remember walking around town meeting and trying to get the vote, and there's been bumps in the road and along the way, and you've persevered with this, and I want to congratulate you again. Your diligence to get funding for the town of Braintree for one police officer's position and 2 firefighter positions it's awesome. It's great. It's so creative on your behalf that, we are going to have burden placed upon our town with the treatment plant being located in Braintree, and to get that, it's just a great job to get that, and that's the type of leadership that we have with you as Mayor Chuck. So I want to thank you so much for that. Well, I fully support this, and I'm very proud to be voting on this tonight. It's a great night for the town of Braintree and Randolph and Holbrook. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you, Councilor Ryan. Councilor Hume.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Mayor Kokoros. One question, so the police and fire, is that being funded through this agreement where we're paying 50, the other two communities are splitting the 50? Is that how it's being funded?
That's correct.
Okay. And we do have Jim Arsenal and Lou Dutton here. If through the President, if they want to come up and add a few words, because this has been your project and you're going to be overseeing this on a daily basis, so I'd love to get your comments.
I also,
If,
Madam President, I would just like to thank Councilman Alexopoulos and also Town Manager Mr. Hanley for all of their hard work as commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Director Arsenal, Mr. Dutton, please.
Floor is yours. Lou, come on up.
Jim Arsenal to the board, Chairperson. So, yeah, Lou's been on it a lot longer than I have, but I think it's a great opportunity for this community to have a new treatment plant, and with the cost sharing as was mentioned and everything, and I think it's, it was definitely, I've only been here, in Braintree years a short period of time, because usually people have been in Braintree quite a long period of time, and but even the time that I was there, it was a difficult road trying to get everybody together and trying to get the project working. So it is just about ready to go. All the permits are in place and the funding's in place and everything. So, and there are some, as the mayor mentioned, some opportunities to get some debt forgiveness and things like that. So I think it's a really great opportunity for the community, and I live here and my children are here, and I know it'll be a great opportunity for them in the future too. So, thank you.
Thank you, Director Arsenal.
Madam Chair.
Please.
As the mayor stated, and
Move them. Yeah.
as the mayor stated, it's been a long time coming. When I was originally hired, I was hired by Councilor Ryan and Mayor Kokoros. And one of the selling points of coming here for me was, we're getting a new treatment plant. And 21 years later, I mean, it's, you sit here and it's like a dream come true. It's actually going to happen. And I think that's what excites me the most. It's, the treatment plant we have now is making decent water, but it can be so much better, and this treatment plant is going to put it over the top, and it's going to benefit Braintree, Randolph, Holbrook, and there's a lot of issues in Randolph and Holbrook, and Braintree's had some issues in the past, and we've been able to correct it, but with a new facility, we're going to be able to just get to that level, and it's just going to be great for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just for everybody at home, just tell everybody your title and your role.
Superintendent of Water and Sewer.
Not
for the
everybody
town of Braintree.
knows that, so we want to recognize you. Thanks so much for all
Thank
your
you,
work.
Councilor Hume. Any other councilors? Councilor Flaherty.
Thank you. So, what's clear to me about this is that Braintree will benefit from sharing the costs for the new water treatment plant that we need. And also cost sharing it promises to help us keep rates down for all of our Braintree residents and the surrounding community too. So there's a lot to gain by doing this, but there's, anytime you regionalize, you give up a certain measure of local control. So the Ways and Means Committee reviewed the Joint Powers Agreement really carefully to see, to what extent we would retain control over our own community. One of the questions that came up was, who's going to work this plant? And the answer to that is that it'll be Braintree water employees who are running the plant. Braintree will be in charge of hiring and firing. Randolph and Holbrook have water plants now, but those workers will be absorbed by their municipal DPWs. So I have a lot of confidence in our water department, and I'm pleased to know that. I'm pleased to know that our community is going to retain control over that, choosing who's going to run this new plant. Another item of concern has to do with a portion of the JPA that says that any new development in any community which is going to potentially consume more than 50,000 gallons of water per day will be reviewed and will require the permission of the board before it can proceed. And that's a point which I was reluctant to give, because it gives other communities a measure of say over how we develop. But I also have to concede that if you're going to go in on a shared resource with other communities, then there has to be some check and balance on how much of any given of that resource any given community can absorb. So it does make a certain amount of sense. And further, I was also reassured that the board will only have one acceptable reason for denying permission for a particular piece of development, and that will be water consumption. They can't just say, well, no. They have to be able to justify that based on the amount of water that we have available and the amount of water that the development promises to consume. So I feel like that was reasonably answered. And so I think there's a lot of merit to this plan. I think there's a lot of merit to the joint power agreement, and I'm going to give it my full support tonight.
Thank you, Councilor Flaherty. Any other councilors? Councilor Maglio?
So my questions were also with regard to the 50,000 gallon per day mechanism. And what was good to hear is that, as Councilor Flaherty mentioned, that any objection would be based on how it impacts the water, so that it's based on industry standards, it's based on capacity, it's based on science, essentially. And that is really important. Speaking of the science, and this was something that we didn't have enough time, we ran out of time at Ways and Means, but I would like to ask now, especially since the mayor just mentioned that we have no PFAS in our water. So does that mean that we have no PFAS in our water after it's been treated and it goes through our filters and it's under that threshold, the acceptable threshold?
We have zero, Madam President.
Go right ahead. I was going to
Madam President,
offer up.
we have zero PFAS coming out of the plant. It's treated. The treated water is zero. As far as the raw water, I think the last time it was checked, it was about 19 parts per trillion. 16 parts per trillion. So the raw water, which you don't drink, is at 16 parts per trillion, and the drinking water is at zero after it's treated.
And that's after it goes through our filtering process. So in terms of our filtering process, and again, sorry to get into this level of detail here, we just ran out of time there. We have, just so I can understand this, we have this filter system in Braintree, and that is what removes it from our raw water. And then in terms of that, those need to be, the term is recharged, in order, because they get saturated, and then they need some sort of an upgrade to those filters.
As far as a technical question, I would yield to
Mr. Dutton.
Mr. Dutton.
If you can assist, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Madam President. So right now, we actually just got done. We replaced our first filter with brand new media. So the way the process
I'm sorry, brand new?
Media, the filter media itself. It's granular activated charcoal, which that is what removes the PFAS. So what they do is they come in, they remove it all, and they put fresh media in. The first one that they put in is what we call a virgin. It's straight from the factory. The media that they have taken out will go back. It's going to be rejuvenated and be reused. When we replace the next filter, that material will come in, they'll take the old material out, same thing, then they'll rejuvenate that, and we'll do the next filter. And it's just a constant replacement. And we monitor each individual filter as well as the total volume to make sure, to check each filter, see which one is starting to break through, and that's the filter that we'll replace next.
Excellent. And is that the system that will be used by all three towns in order to continue? Okay.
Yep. I can't remember if there's 4 or 5 filters that are going to be in the new treatment facility, but the same thing. We'll just one filter at a time, replace that once it's time, and then just keep monitoring as the next filter gets needed to be changed out, change that one out and keep going.
And is the mechanism for people, for when that goes above 20, that has to happen twice in a 3-month period, otherwise there's no public notification necessary?
Correct. It's a quarterly average that is being used with the DEP. So as long as it's below that 20 for that 3-month period, then we're fine.
Excellent. Really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dutton. 1 second, Charlie. Councilor Reynolds?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. As was previously stated by my fellow members of the Ways and Means Committee, we did not have enough time for us to ask all the questions this evening that we wanted to ask. So there are a number of other questions that I wanted to ask. I felt it was important for this committee to give an approval, recommended approval, so that we could move this issue to the full council for a full hearing. Now, I do understand, and in our discussions with the Chief of Staff and with a few of the other folks who have been involved in these negotiations, as was stated by Councilor Ryan, this is a long history of this process. And one of the things, I mean, overall, this is a great project that we need for the town of Braintree. It's going to bring efficiencies. It's going to allow us to be able to conserve water in a much more efficient manner. As some of the other previous speakers have alluded to or referred to, that there are a number of scientific thresholds, data collection, multiple sources of being able to establish thresholds that have been mentioned here that are very, very important to the town of Braintree and to the other 2 communities that we are partners with. I also understand that the last leg of negotiations was a very difficult undertaking. Not all 3 parties, shall we say, saw eye to eye on many things. And because of that, the negotiations extended themselves to a point where we were put up against a very hard deadline date in order for, as was mentioned previously, for us to be able to obtain and secure low-interest loans, as well as the ability to be able to possibly have some of that loan amount forgiven, which are great opportunities for us to save money. So if one thing that I could have seen that would have been different, it would have been the timeline that would have allowed a full vetting by all 3 communities rather than a rushed vetting. However, we all do understand the importance of this project, and clearly I understand the deadline for us to get in for this current fiscal year's water revolving fund loan. So, I just wanted to make sure that you know, given some context and some background, which is very important for us and for us to get to our approval this evening. The first read that I had of this, I was concerned, particularly by what had been mentioned by 2 previous speakers, the 50,000 gallon per day limit threshold. That would require approval from the district, and I guess the term, we don't know if it's commissioners or if it's whatever the case may be, but just, you know, for all intents and purposes, the district appointees that make up the board, or we'll call them board members. So my first reaction to that is, I would not want anything to get in the way of the town of Braintree's need to be able to pursue additional revenues, which, as we had just finished a very difficult budget year, a very difficult capital plan, and essentially 3 years running for various reasons why we have been challenged. And so I think that was my very first concern. Chief of Staff and others who were in our meeting were able to provide some information to some more detailed questions that we had asked pertaining to just that. There are a number of mitigating factors that are going to drive the decision process of this board, 3-member board, of whether or not that they will provide approval for projects that are projected to have a new use of over 50,000 gallons per day, or will have an additional use for a pre-existing use that will create an additional 50,000 gallons per day. So, Braintree, we need to make sure in the town of Braintree that there was nothing that will impede our ability for economic development going forward. There are a number of questions that got followed up by that. And those questions were, what is the vote that would be required for this 50,000 gallon per day approval process, or in the form of an application? And at this point, we also came to understand that there are still procedural rules, operating or procedural rules that still need to be worked out amongst the appointees who will be the board members. And one of those rules that are outstanding right now is whether or not that this vote of a 50,000 gallon per day approval process would require a unanimous vote of 3 or just a simple majority. So it's important that those factors it be understood clearly by the town of Braintree. Another piece of information that was provided that was reassuring, as far as my concern that of this requirement to be approved by this tri-town board, was what kind of recourse would the town of Braintree have. I'll use town of Braintree as an example, if we were denied. And we were assured that there is a legal process, and Ms. Huff did provide me what the actual legal term was, but I can't recall, not being a lawyer. But that there is a process that is guaranteed that would give the town of Braintree that opportunity. Another assuring detail to my concern was that there are going to be, and if I could just remember what the wording was, that in the event that there is an agreement decided upon that's materially significant enough that it would require further approval of each of the community's executive and or legislative bodies. So that is another level of assurance that lends itself to me being hopeful as we move forward that the town of Braintree particularly will not be impeded in our very much there is a large and significant demand for us to be able to improve the revenues the town of Braintree has at this point, so that we will not continue down the road that we've been on. We talked about the schools, et cetera. So that's a very, very important point I want to make sure that is absolutely understood and emphasized as something the town of Braintree cannot afford to give up. And that is something I will be following very closely as far as how those rules get further developed and articulated and implemented, so that we all understand what our recourses are and our ability to continue not to be impeded by, as another speaker spoke about, that there are some things that we give up when we join into a regional authority. This is one I do not want to give up. It's too important to our community's economic health. So I'll be watching that very interestingly. We had asked some other questions, and just for edification here, whether or not that the current Braintree Water Department ever invoked or rejected a project Braintree felt we had too much of demand on water than what our water resource can handle. We have not. That, again, another reassuring piece of information that from a background and a precedent standpoint, we do have capacity moving forward, that there is a level of capacity that has been determined by the state, and that level of capacity right now, I believe the number that I received from Ms. Gordon was 66 gallons per capita is the state limit of usage, and for the town of Braintree, we're currently at 44 gallons per, and so we've got a delta there of 22 gallons per capita, which is a comfortable amount for us to be able to operate within, okay, with the considerations that we all have and share about our economic future and our ability to develop. I know that the mayor has also gotten behind a couple of other initiatives in this town in order to lend itself toward that economic development, one being life sciences, and we do know that life sciences for the most part is a very heavy water user. We would not want to jeopardize that possibility of furthering the existence of life sciences within our community as a soft use, and that also provides a very nice return on taxes, both from a property tax and a personal tax perspective. Also, right before there was a mention this evening of a hearing that's coming up tomorrow evening regarding marijuana growing facilities. That is a very heavy water intensive, and at some point we would like to hear what the mayor's opinion on that would be in context to that proposal and water being used. Lastly, let's see, will there be further agreement to decide upon, we've already talked about that, yes, the town will have that ability to do that. Will directors be paid? No, they will not be paid. I would be interested in, at some point of understanding, will there be a minimum qualification standard for the individual who eventually gets appointed, or 3 appointees from each of the communities? Most specifically, I'd like to understand if that's going to be a district standard or will that be a community standard. And lastly, just one question. I do know that the mayor had negotiated for 3 public safety positions. So this question is, what was the basis for a justification for 3 additional? I know I had read that there is chemicals, there's security, etc., both from a fire and a physical security and a police perspective. What is materially different that is significant between the current operations of the Braintree water treatment plant, its size, and the relative size as it relates to the size of the new plant?
Councilor
and
Reynolds,
that justifies.
Mayor Kokoros,
So that's the question.
like to answer
Right.
that or address that? Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam President. Well, first of all, it's a negotiation process, so, if we were able to get more public safety personnel, we certainly would have gone in that direction. But the negotiation led to 2 members of the fire department and 1 police, and it's based on the fact that we felt that the fire services were extremely important, based on the fact that this would be a plant big enough to supply water for all 3 communities, and there are a number of different chemicals that are used to provide clean water. And as far as having such a large facility, it just creates the need for us to have the ability to protect that particular site. So,
Thank you, Mayor. Last question, Councilor Reynolds.
Okay. Is that what is materially different? I understand the security. Is this facility significantly larger than the current facility? And if so, or if not, actually, let me put it that way, is there a need right now that we don't address for the current Braintree treatment plant? From a public security set.
Well, I would say that the fact that we're taking on the responsibility of a plant that essentially is providing water for 2 other communities, it makes sense that they would help us provide the funding for those positions. And I think that the current plant that we have, I don't know if you've ever been up there.
I have
but
numerous times.
Okay. So you do know that the stuff is pumped in through the pumping building, and then it makes its way up through the filter system. So this would be one building, and the square footage. What's the square footage? Yeah. What's this total square footage? Yeah. So significantly, I guess the answer would be it's significantly larger than what we have currently.
Okay, I will, thank you. My time is up. I would appreciate if I could get back and get that information in the particulars. And
We can get you the exact square footage of all of the buildings as compared to what we have today.
I appreciate your time taking that question.
Absolutely. And
I
just wanted to, make note that we are not asking anyone to rush anything. We provided this information 2 weeks ago, and
this is a 50-year plan you're asking us to
Councilor
get into. Pardon
Please
me.
don't interrupt. Thank you.
I want you to know that, we vetted through this thing, and it's been worked on for a number of years, and I'm very happy with the final product, and I appreciate all the support that this board has given, and ask for us to move forward and move forward with the treatment plant and finalize it.
Go ahead. Thank you, Chief of Staff.
I will introduce Helen, who, along with Mr. Dutton, is probably one of our longest-running participants in this project, OPM for the Tri-Town Water District. Helen Gordon, Senior Project Manager from Environmental Partners.
Thank you, Ms. Gordon. I'm just going to have Councilor Ryan. Are you good, Councilor Ryan? Okay.
Madam President.
The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Reynolds, in relationship to the physical size so there's two different things. So the building itself is almost 2 times the size of the existing building in terms of footprint. There are actually multiple buildings. So there's one building that houses all the process equipment, the chemicals, the treatment and the filters, and some space for operations, a laboratory. And then there's another building that's joined by a tunnel that houses the clear well where the finished water goes to be treated for disinfection, and then the finished water pumps. There's dedicated finished water pumps that go to the town of Braintree, and then there's dedicated pumps that go to Randolph and Holbrook through a dual transmission main that goes across the pond. So it's a significant amount of infrastructure compared to the existing. And in terms of capacity of the plant, the max day capacity is 12.5 MGD, which is more than what is there now. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. That was a much clearer answer.
Okay.
Thank you.
And MGD is million?
Million gallons a day,
Thank you.
Madam President.
Councilor Ryan?
Thank you. So I just want to say that, I'm just glad we got a police officer and 2 firefighters out of the deal. I don't know if there's any, equation that you can come up with to get that. It's really, the firefighters, they're not going to respond to a fire there, and have never stepped foot on the property. They're going to be up there touring the facility, going through the chemicals and the different things that are on site, familiarizing themselves with the facility well in advance. It's going to take time, and it's going to take, it's going to be a burden on the town of Braintree. The police department is going to be up there checking on the facility. It's a target now. Any water supply is a target, and you have to make sure that we protect our facilities. We're all going to know the worth of water when the well runs dry. So we need to make sure that the plant is safe. And so I'm just happy that we got those positions, and I think I appreciate that. We talked about that 50,000 gallons of for development, we've all lived in Braintree for a while. We all know about water bans, and I think, I agree that it's tough giving up control. I agree with that. But there needs to be some type of control in place, and that goes both ways. That's protection for us as well with the other two communities. So hopefully that's going to be a smooth, that's going to go very well. And I appreciate the effort of the Ways and Means Committee looking at these and asking these tough questions, because it's easy for me to be here rooting for this project because I fully support it. But, Council Flaherty calls me up during the day and asks me 7 questions related to this because she cares and she wants to make sure she gets it right, and everybody cares a lot about this project. So I appreciate all the due diligence on behalf of the Ways and Means. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Ryan. I have one question. When do we expect groundbreaking to occur if this gets approved? Since it's been 20 years in the making.
What's another 20? Madam President, if you may. The bidding process will begin as soon as possible. We have to submit all the paperwork to the state to get approval to move ahead with advertisement. As it stands right now, we need to have a signed contract with the contractor by September 30th or thereabouts. Typically what happens in the course of a project is it takes a while for the project to get started to actually have physical groundbreaking. So what will happen is the contractor gets on board, they submit all their paperwork, they submit all their what we call shop drawings, which are approvals that go to the designer. So the designer of this project is AECOM. They'll review and make sure it's within the requirements of the design, get it approved, and then the contractors have to order the equipment and the materials. And that is where I can't predict in today's, I do have to say, in my 42 years of consulting, I have never seen it this bad in terms of supply chain, timing, and impact on projects. So I'm personally committed to this project. I've been tracking it for many years in my career, and I will do everything I can to get it staying on schedule and budget, but there is a limit to what we can do in today's marketplace. I could see clearing, at least, of the site beginning late fall, potentially. But again, the stars kind of have to align appropriately with that. So I will come back with, once we know what the actual schedule is, we can present that to you. I will tell you that what we do regularly on all these projects is we give monthly updates to the staff and monthly updates to the 3 communities. Typically in a project this size, we would also be providing photos of the project as it proceeds, so it can be put on the community's website so people can see what's going on.
I would like to ask if we could have updates given. It doesn't have to be every 3 months, but if we could have timely updates. And maybe the next update we could get is if somebody could come in and show the plans for the facility. We don't need to go through the as-built, but if somebody could show us a rendering of the facility and some of the major components of the treatment process, it would be nice, and that would help answer some of the questions and give everybody a good understanding, and not only for the council, but everybody at home would be watching that as well. So I think that would be very worthwhile.
Well, thank you, Councilor Ryan. Yes, agreed.
Okay, we'll work with AECOM to put a presentation together on that, and maybe we can come once we know what the schedule is at the same time.
That would be fantastic.
Thank you. And I just want to say I've known Helen for over 20 years, and we're very lucky to have such an outstanding, qualified person leading this project. And I have a lot of good hope that this is going to go very well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Gordon. I think we're in very good hands. I would like to thank the Ways and Means Committee because this is a 50-year agreement, as Councilor Reynolds said, and I think that the residents should really feel great about the quality of work that this committee does on all of our behalf to vet these agreements, to spend the time. It is a lot of time, and they run everything to ground. So thank you for the work you're doing on this, the budget, and all of the other efforts that you're putting forth. It is a big deal, and we're very lucky to have you. And I also want to say I am in full support of this tonight. I think it is commendable. Entering into a multi-town agreement is extremely complex. You've got every town understandably vying for its own best interest. On top of that, to have something as consequential as our water supply at stake is no small feat. So thank you to the mayor and his team, and I want to acknowledge that it is not easy to negotiate with multiple communities on something this important. I feel that this is a very solid agreement for Braintree. It's aiding our public safety force. We're getting almost unheard of financing, which given the state of our budget is very responsible and incredibly critical to continue to improve our revenue streams in town. And we're advancing a major infrastructure project, which is really, at the end of the day, what this is all about, right? We're moving the town forward collectively, cooperatively, and collaboratively, and I thank everybody involved for their efforts in helping us do so. So I will be voting full support of this, and thank you to the team. Anybody else? This is a public hearing. We do have a member of the public here. Is there anyone in the public who would like to speak? Okay, seeing none. We're going to close the public hearing, and then we will vote on the motion itself. So this is just a motion to close. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
Thank you, Councilors Ryan and Hume. Clerk Semino, roll call vote, please.
Councilor Barrica?
Yes.
Councilor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilor Hume?
Aye.
Councilor Mackin is absent. Councilor Maglio?
Aye.
Councilor O'Brien?
Aye.
Councilor Reynolds?
Aye.
Councilor Ringus?
Aye.
Councilor Ryan?
Aye.
8 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 absent.
And now is there a motion for Order 22034?
Yes. Motion to approve the Tri-Town Water District Joint Powers Agreement between the towns of Braintree, Holmbrook, and Randolph as submitted under Council Order 22034.
Second.
Thank you, Councilors Ryan and Hume. Clerk Semino, roll call vote, please.
Councilor Barrica?
Yes.
Councilor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilor Hume?
Aye.
Councilor Maglio?
Aye.
Councilor O'Brien?
Aye.
Councilor Reynolds?
Aye.
Councilor Ringus?
Aye.
Councilor Ryan?
Aye.
It's 8 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 absent.
Congratulations. Thank you. Look forward to the ribbon cutting before you retire, Lou. All right. We're moving on to our next order of business, resolutions and proclamations. I would like to turn this over now to Councilor Maglio for Order 03822. Councilor Maglio.
Fantastic. Thank you, Councilor Borca. So at the last town council meeting on June 7th, excuse me one second. I mentioned the flag raising, the Pride flag raising, to help celebrate Pride Month here in Braintree. And I'd like to take a moment and read the proclamation that I read at that event. Whereas the rainbow flag is widely recognized as a symbol of pride, inclusion, and support for social movements that advocate for LGBTQ+ people in society, and whereas the town of Braintree is committed to supporting visibility, dignity, and equity for all LGBTQ+ members in our diverse community, And whereas celebrating Pride Month influences awareness and provides support and advocacy for LGBTQ+ members of Braintree's community. And whereas it is essential to acknowledge the LGBTQ+ community's immeasurable impact to the cultural, civic, and economic successes of our community, now, therefore, be it resolved that for the first time in our town's history, the rainbow flag raised at Town Hall on this day, June 5th, 2022, recognizes all LGBTQ+ residents whose influential and lasting contributions to our neighborhoods make Braintree a vibrant community in which to live, work, and visit. Be it further resolved that every member of the community has dignity and worth, and the symbolism of this flag is a reminder to all of us to embrace the principle of justice for everyone and for each of us to eliminate prejudice wherever it exists. Happy Pride on behalf of the Braintree Town Council.
Thank you, Councilor Maglio. Councilor Ryan?
Thank you. So maybe Councilor Maglio doesn't understand specifically how a carbon filter works at the water treatment plant, but she really understands what's important to so many people in this community, and I want to thank her for bringing this proclamation forward. Well done, Councilor Maglio.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you, Councilor Maglio, and I echo Councilor Ryan's sentiments and think this is wholly within the spirit of the inclusive community we strive to be. So thank you for bringing this forward as well. All right. We have 2 items of new business this morning. Oh boy, this evening, from the town clerk. So these are placeholders for required votes as preparation to begins for our state primary election and early voting. The documents are in the public record now. All the councilors should have received them. We have no additional business to conduct on these tonight, but it is, for those interested, 22035, the call of the state primary election, and we will be voting on that on July 12th, and 22036, the town clerk designation of early voting, and we will also be voting on that on July 12th. All right, moving on to referrals.
Motion to refer 22039 National Grid petition, Standish Avenue, or take up any action related thereto to the Committee on the Department of Public Works.
Second.
Thank you, Councilors Ryan and Hume. Clerk Semino, roll call vote, please.
Councilor Baraka?
Yes.
Councilor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilor Hume?
Aye.
Councilor Maglio?
Aye.
Councilor O'Brien?
Aye.
Councilor Reynolds?
Aye.
Councilor Ringus?
Aye.
Councilor Ryan?
Aye.
8 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 absent.
Thank you very much. We are now heading into our summer schedule as a council, so the next full council meeting will be on Tuesday, July 12th, 2022 at 7:30 p.m. As a reminder from Councilor Ringus earlier this evening, tomorrow night at 6 o'clock here in Cahill Auditorium, public comment will be heard at our Committee on Ordinance and Rules. You can also participate remotely. So thank you, as always, to BCAM, Wes Ray, Bill Needham, and Jerry Comack, and your entire crew for always getting us on BCAM, live streaming us. We appreciate it. You help us connect with our constituents and with the residents. So with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Councilors Ryan and Hume. Clerk Semino, roll call vote, please.
Councilor Baraka?
Yes.
Councilor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilor Hume?
Aye.
Councilor Maglio?
Aye.
Councilor O'Brien?
Aye.
Councilor Reynolds?
Aye.
Councilor Ringus?
Aye.
Councilor Ryan?
Aye.
All in favor to adjourn.
That is unanimous. Thank you.
That's the one that we